Hello, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to Smoke the Podcast, Episode 3.
Episode 3, here we go.
I'd like to thank everybody who has listened to the last two. I probably know you personally. But I have gotten some feedback. I appreciate the feedback. We're a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, constructive criticism is never taken too bad here. I appreciate all feedback.
I appreciate most feedback.
So today we have Bahia Connecticut as our cigar. We're going to be drinking some Woodford Reserve. And our topic is going to be about how to purchase your first firearm. And we'll go into some good first firearms for people to buy.
Cool.
So let's talk about the cigar a little bit.
Okay, so we've already lit up the cigar to save some time. What we are smoking, again, is a Bahia Connecticut. This is a cigar that actually both Theodore and I have smoked before. In fact, I bought a pretty big box of them, and we're getting towards the end of them. So these are really great, super easy smokes. They're actually on the more medium side, but you wouldn't be able to tell it really while smoking it. They're actually fairly mild. The tasting notes say that you'll taste notes of cream, cedar, slight spice, and actually some vanilla. Although we talk about not having refined palates, I can actually say that I've experienced similar flavors to that every time I've smoked one of these. I
think cedar's spot on.
Yeah.
I definitely taste that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the further you get into it, the more the creamier the smoke is going to be, rather than that like peppery bite to it, or cedary. I guess
I've always enjoyed these. They're pretty good.
Yeah, so they're great. These are also cut, they're rolled in a torpedo size, and so a torpedo essentially is the same thing as a Robusto. They're a tad thicker, maybe about as thick as a Churchill. Maybe like I said, maybe just a tad thicker than that. But what's cool is they come to a point at the smoking end, which allows you to actually cut them to the draw size that you like. So if you like a much wider one, you can cut it just like a Robusto. Or if you like a tighter draw, you can cut it pretty narrow at the top. I'm kind of right in the middle when I smoke torpedoes.
I think I am too. I like my draw. I don't like my draw very loose. So.
As you can see, too, these things put off a lot of smoke, which is nice.
They do. They're burning really nice, too. I lit mine pretty good. It's got a pretty straight line. Ash is pretty nice.
For lighting mine with a match, old school, rather than the torch lighter, it's not burning all that bad, but you can definitely see the match line where I had it. Match for a while.
Yeah, you can't see that.
Yeah.
I hogged up all the butane, sorry.
It's all good.
All right, so we are drinking Woodford Reserve Distiller Select, which is just, I think, your basic
standard Woodford Reserve.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and crack that open. We have not served these up yet, so we're gonna do that now.
Cool.
Ooh, smells good.
Yeah. What kind of aroma are you getting off of it, other than just a whiskey aroma?
It smells like bourbon.
Bourbon? Oh, there you go.
Well.
Oh, it's actually not that overpowering, the scent.
According to the manufacturer.
Okay.
This is pulled off their website. So the appearance, clean, brilliant honey amber. And, I mean, that's a way to describe, I would say, any kind of whiskey.
True.
To me
it looks a little more red.
It could be the lighting.
Yeah, true.
Maybe that's the amber a little bit.
Could be.
But through the nose, it's saying heavy with rich dried fruit, hints of mint, and oranges covered with a dusting of cocoa, faint vanilla, and tobacco spice, which should pair well with the cigar then.
It should.
I do give it a little smell, scent of oranges a little bit.
I'm actually getting some of the vanilla off of that, which is funny because I don't smell any of the other things. So are we taking a taste then? Cheers.
Cheers. I jumped the gun.
Yeah, it's okay. It's whiskey. It has a tendency to do that to you.
So, back to the manufacturer saying, rich for the taste. Sorry.
Okay.
Rich, chewy, which I don't know necessarily know
Okay.
what they mean by that. Rounded and smooth, definitely smooth, with complex citrus, cinnamon, and cocoa.
Okay.
Taste the cocoa. Don't necessarily taste cinnamon.
It does taste rich. I get what they're saying by that. No, rich. It's just like a real, not that I would say a whiskey's like full bodied like a cigar, but it definitely tastes more like it's got more of a flavor. It's just like a deep like bourbony flavor to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean I've had bourbons and whiskeys that are just smooth and don't have a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
This kind of has both.
Yeah, it's smooth,
which is pretty good,
with a lot of flavor. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I've had it before.
Yeah, as have I.
I mean, when do you typically drink this?
So I was telling Theodore earlier today that Woodford Reserve is like my guilty pleasure on any airplane, any international flight that we take, because it's pretty common for whatever reason. Although I don't feel like it's all that common of a. I guess it's common, but it's like Jack Daniels and Woodford Reserve, and so I'm always like, well, if we're going international and I can get it for free, give me some Woodford Reserve, man. Give me the good stuff.
And looking these prices up earlier, you can get this for about $40 a bottle.
Oh wow, that's actually more than I thought it would be. Huh. Okay. I mean, it's good. It's definitely worth that, but I don't know why I would have pegged this at like $35, $32, somewhere around there.
Yeah, you just think like average.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
but it's a little, it's a little more
of a select.
Yeah, a little more than your average bourbon.
Cool.
Finish says silky smooth, almost creamy at first, with a long, warm, satisfying tail.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You know, tasting these things with, you know, with someone telling you what you should taste, you kind of see that. You know, no, seriously. Cause
I agree.
My problem is, you know, when you taste something like whiskey, in my head, I always think, well, it tastes like whiskey.
Absolutely.
You know, so
yeah.
To kind of have these things pointed out to you, it's like, oh, okay, you know, I do taste that. You know, when I read oranges and I smell, I go, this definitely does kind of have a little bit of an orangey smell.
Right.
Not overpowering, doesn't smell exactly like oranges, but I can understand why people say that now.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm always curious to think like, you're right. Well, what if I don't have the tasting notes and I taste it? I mean, is it seriously just gonna taste like whiskey? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna even be able to pick out those notes?
Then what you're gonna get from me is I either like it or I don't like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So. But yeah, it is super nice to actually have the tasting notes there. I definitely have more of a palate for cigars than I do whiskey.
Yeah.
As far as like what I'm able to taste in it. So. Okay,
so before we go on to the gun topic of the day, I'm going to throw a little curveball.
Okay.
But we did talk about this a little bit. Quail Chucker Opener.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like we are moving pretty quick tonight through the topics. So. Quail Opener. We and when I say we, I mean me and my dad, so your uncle.
Yes.
We went out on actually on opening day, which is 10/20, October 20th. We went out to an undisclosed location in Southern California where there wasn't hardly anybody present, which was great. So that's why I'm not going to share where that is. If you'd like to know or hunt with us, then give me a call. Maybe you can go out there, but it was awesome. It was definitely not what I was expecting in comparison to dove season, where it's just like, okay, there's dove everywhere and you just get shots off after shot. I think I only took maybe 3 or 4 shots the whole day. But it was pretty quiet. No callbacks. I mean, we started hiking basically down kind of a ravine. I was on kind of the bottom side of the ravine. My dad was on the top. Moved through there, didn't really see anything, passed a couple of guzzlers, which for those of you that don't know, a guzzler is basically a man-made structure that collects water for the birds and wildlife to kind of drink out of and stuff, especially during like our hot and really dry summers. Yeah,
you typically find them where there's not a lot of streams and things like that.
Yeah. So it kind of naturally the wildlife gravitates towards those areas. So you expect typically to find them there. We didn't hear them calling, and it kind of, when we did actually come up on a covey of them, it kind of spooked me. I'm sure, my dad probably kind of knew what to expect, but getting up on it, I was like, oh shoot, like there's a bunch of birds in here. And you see them kind of moving around and this and that, and then a couple of them took off, and then they started really taking off, and honestly I probably should have taken a shot, but at the same time you're kind of like experiencing it and, you know, kind of watching them and seeing them, and I'm like, oh shoot, I hesitated. By the time I took a shot, I was really far behind. Eventually I was able to chase a few of them up another ravine, literally running like pretty much at a dead sprint to get to him, got him up in the air again, was able to take a shot and bring one down. So I ended the day with one quail, and then later on we had moved to another location where I was able to actually take a cottontail rabbit, which was pretty cool because I've been hunting for that probably about a year and a half now. So I was pretty proud that I finally got my cottontail. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, so that was awesome. That was opener for us. It was really low key. Unfortunately, my dad didn't get any, but you know, it's okay. We had a great time. We actually learned a lot. So
yeah, that's pretty much the same thing with me. This is not something that I've done for a long time, so it's a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
I went out with Ryan's dad. We stayed overnight where we went in another undisclosed location. We scouted previously. We scouted, when would you say, about a month ago?
Yeah, about
3 weeks, a month ago. We did find a covey of quail while we were scouting. We got a lot of callbacks all day long. Actually, more towards midday, they kind of started. They kind of stopped with the callbacks.
Stopped. Okay.
But early morning, they were calling back really a lot. And then towards the later day, and so we went back to that spot, and we found the quail in the exact same spot that we located them before.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
So it was good. We Ryan's dad they flushed a little before he got close enough, and they kind of flushed towards me. I was able to take a couple shots, but missed.
Okay.
And man, those things just disappear when they land. It's crazy.
They blend in really well. I had a hard time chasing the ones that I did, but yeah.
And you know, I can understand why most quail hunters have dogs, because it would have been really helpful to have a dog. We knew they were there. We could hear them calling back, and the callbacks just kept on getting further and further and further.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we hiked around the area and flushed a couple more coveys, but unfortunately, the lesson that I learned is if you're quail hunting, chucker hunting, you have to be ready all the time.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to shoot all the time.
Yeah.
So every time we flushed a covey, it's like, you know, I was just a split second too slow.
Yeah. And,
you know, I listened to a couple of podcasts. I listened to the Upchucker podcast, and he always says, Travis Warren always says to hunt with your head up. You know, a lot of people look at the ground because you're hiking in terrain, you know, that's where you have to be looking, or else, you know, you're going to step on a cactus, or, you know, you just never know what you're going to step on. But if your head's not up, then you're not ready for the birds. And,
Yeah.
and I learned that. I learned that today, this last trip.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with you. It's like I said, you hesitate for even a split second to bring your shotgun up or anything, and they're gone. Like it's just too late. It makes sense why a lot of people do hunt with dogs, because yeah, that was the issue that we had, is that they flushed like well before we could get into position, and I think that was the major issue there, was just the fact that we didn't even have, like, they were already too far.
Yeah.
But if you have a dog, it kind of holds them in place. I mean, I don't know. Ethically, though, I kind of feel like, dang, dude, like, now you're just sitting them there until you go, hey, okay, let's shoot them now and kill them. So,
and these birds, they seem pretty smart. I mean, we were hiking along a creek, and we did flush a covey, and they just jumped to the other side of the creek.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they knew that it was going to take us a while to cross the creek. And by that time, they were gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I thought about it, I wonder why they just didn't go the other way. But I don't know. Maybe it was just luck that they just went across the creek, or if they know that, you know, we're not going to be able to cross it as quickly, and they're going to get away.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the more we go out, how often things like that happen. I mean, obviously, then you'll start to know, like, okay, yeah, they really do have a really good idea of where they're essentially being hunted from, or where the predators are at, so to speak, you know.
Yeah, and I hear early in the season, you're going to get a lot more callbacks. And as they start getting hunted more and more, that's not going to happen as often.
Well, yeah, I don't think I would talk to somebody if they were hunting me. So
they were pretty chatty when we were out there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, cool, these guys are just hanging out with us out here.
Or maybe I just have a mean quail call.
That too, yeah, it could be. I learned that I really needed to practice my quail call while we were out there. Mine sounded like, a quail that had like lung problems or something. But I'm getting better at it, so yeah, keep working on that.
All right, so let's move on to our topic of the day.
Before we do that, I just want to make a note. I got maybe an inch into this cigar before I had to ash it. So although it burns pretty clean, pretty good, the ash doesn't stay on. I mean, it's not bad at an inch, but it doesn't hold together all that great. So.
The same thing happened with me. Although I didn't ash it, it just fell off. And that was, I would say, about 3/4 of an inch. I don't even think I was an inch in.
Yeah, and I do, again, I smoke faster than Theodore, so.
Much faster.
Yeah. All right, topic of the day.
All right, so we're going to talk about how to purchase your first firearm. So let me ask you a question. How old were you when you purchased your first firearm?
I purchased my first firearm, I think I was either 19 or 20 when I purchased, like, my very first, very own, like, yeah, I would say, probably about 19 or 20. I know I was in college, and I bought it at Big Five Sporting Goods. Yeah.
Okay, what kind was it? What did you go with?
I don't know if that will conflict with or not conflict, but will kind of give away what I think as being one of the better first guns. But
that's fine.
I bought a Mossberg 500 pump shotgun with both the 28-inch hunting barrel and the 18-inch. I think it's 18 and a half technically home defense barrel. So that's what I ended up going with. It was on Black Friday. I distinctly remember getting there because I was working security for a company, loss prevention for a company at the time, and had worked the Black Friday shift pretty much until midnight. Went and slept in my car till about 4 a.m. and was the first one outside Big Five that morning to buy that shotgun.
That is dedication.
It was dedication. I was excited. Yeah. But then again, like I said, I was 19 or 20 in college, and it was Thanksgiving break, so I didn't really have anything better to do. So it was cool.
Well, myself, I was well into my 30s. I would say 32 or 33.
Oh, okay.
Before I actually purchased my own first gun, which was a handgun, a Springfield XD 9mm.
Okay.
So, I mean, what's the process?
It's funny you should ask because I literally just purchased one a couple days ago. I'm not going to say what, but I purchased a gun, which was pretty cool. And so mine was a little different though because it was a consignment sale and rather than a standard sale. So there's a few little additions to that, but basically the way the standard sale works in the state of California, it's pretty crazy. In order to buy any firearm, whether handgun, long gun, so long gun is a shotgun rifle or an AR-15 lower or full AR-15, but traditionally even to buy a lower, it's considered a long gun. You need to have a firearm safety certificate. Now, this is one of the newer laws because before this, it used to just be a handgun certificate, and you could buy a long gun, no problem. Now they've included all of them into this certificate. So basically what this is you pay a fee of $25, and you take a test, and it's 30 questions, 75% to pass. So you just need 75% or more to pass. It's valid for 5 years if you pass and you get this license, right, or permit. And basically what it is it allows you to purchase any California legal handgun.
Yes.
And then any long guns or lowers, AR-15 lowers. Now, there is one exception to that. If you only intend to purchase long guns in the state of California, a valid hunting license or hunter safety permit will also suffice for that. But that's long guns only, not handguns.
Yes.
So that's step number one. Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would just say going through the test, I took the test when it was both. I think there was the first year where it included long guns and handguns.
Okay.
It was the firearm. It used to be called the handgun safety certificate.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's the firearm safety certificate.
I've taken the test for both.
But it was really easy.
Yeah.
Some of the questions they're pretty obvious. If you're good at taking multiple choice tests, you should be able to pass it because, I mean, some of the questions are just ridiculous. And I'm not exaggerating here. I think one of them was something to the effect of, if you have a firearm in your home, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah.
And some of the answers were, is it your neighbor's responsibility? Is it your children's responsibility?
Right.
Is it your responsibility?
Right.
It's like, well, obviously it's your responsibility.
I think one of the ones that I got was, if you have a loaded gun, where should you point it? And it's like at a neighbor, at a friend, in a safe direction, straight into the ground. Like, it's like really very, very, very easy.
Yeah, there's only a couple that are kind of technical.
And those, I think, typically just relate to California law, too. And that's why they're weird, because you'd think, well, maybe you don't need that. But no, California's a little extra.
Yeah, now I would say to get the 75%, it should be pretty easy.
Yeah, and we didn't actually look up the process if you don't. But I want to say, and again, top of my head, there's like a wait period before you can retake it if you fail it. So. And
I think they have a little handbook that goes over the criteria and everything.
I know I got a copy of it a while back. So
yeah, that was easy, and I got mine, and then once you get yours, they give you a little certificate and it has to be signed. And if you don't lose that, because if you lose it, then you have to pay to get it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you can buy a handgun. Or a firearm in general.
Any California legal firearm. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's a firearm safety certificate. So that's step number one. In fact, I want to say I did mine even separate of a purchase. Like, I think I just went down and did it like just to have it.
I did mine separate of a purchase because I knew someone that I was going to go to, and so I did all that just to have that out of the way. That way, it was just one less step. To do.
Of course, yeah. So that's good. So that's step number one. Once you have that, now you're able to purchase. You have the permit that allows you to purchase.
Yeah, and there is no wait. I mean, if you wanted to go in, do your safety test, and buy a gun the same day,
you could do it all the same way. I did that.
You wouldn't be able to take it home, so that's for later. So
yeah,
I
did.
We'll get into that after.
I actually did that on when I had to update from the handgun safety certificate to the firearm safety certificate. I had to take it because I thought it was still valid, but I was purchasing both a handgun and a long gun.
Okay.
And so they're like, well, you need the new firearm safety certificate, even though I had a hunting license. It's just weird. The way
and these certificates are only valid for 5 years.
Yeah. So anyways, next step then is obviously, and we're going to skim over this, but once you have that firearm safety certificate, you need to pick the gun that you want to purchase. And we'll go through that in a little bit. But once you find the gun that you want to purchase and you go into store, you pick it out, you show them your firearm safety certificate. Then they start what's called the DROS, which is actually basically a form that is for background info that is submitted to the FBI, the DOJ, and I think it's all cross-referenced between like the ATF and some other law enforcement agencies. The cost for the background is $25. That's just standard cost in California. Now, I don't know if that's the cost nationwide, but I believe that this DROS form, this background form, is pretty much the same exact form that's required in all states, to my knowledge. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a fairly standard federal form.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, cool. And then that, in California, we have a weird law that says you can only do one background form every 30 days. So you can only do one every 30 days. They basically, if you bought a gun and then you decided 2 days later, I want another one, you wouldn't be able to go and purchase it unless you get it put on that same DROS form. Well, here's the issue, though, is with that DROS form, you can only buy one handgun.
Yes.
Per DROS form, which is also per 30 days. So essentially one handgun per 30 days. But here's the crazy catch to that. In the state of California right now, you can buy an unlimited amount of long guns or AR-15 lowers. And you can buy them together with one handgun. So if you wanted to, you could buy one handgun and like 3 shotguns and a rifle and an AR-15 all on one DROS.
Yes, as long as your AR-15
is California compliant.
Is California compliant.
Right, of course. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I mean California legal guns, essentially. Yes. One handgun and then multiple long guns. which is pretty crazy. But yeah, then once that starts, though, then yeah, you're kind of dead in the water for 30 days as far as going back and buying anything else.
Yeah.
So that, obviously, they do the background check, and that's essentially what determines whether or not you're mentally fit to purchase a gun. Some places, I think other states will do it literally right there while you're at the counter.
Yeah, well, there is, I don't know what the other states use, but there's an instant background check database that they use.
Okay.
So, to do the background check doesn't necessarily have to take the 10 days, because in California, once you do your drills, it's a 10-day waiting period.
Right.
Before you can actually pick your guns up, and it is exactly 10 days.
Yes. So let's move down, because we're gonna get to that 10-day period here. After the DROS is completed, you're gonna have some other required documents that you need to hand in. Right. So now you've got this background form completed. You filled it out, everything's ready to go, you signed it and everything. Next, you're going to have to provide 2 forms of identification or proof of residency, essentially, is really what they are. So you have to use typically what they request is a California ID. That's like number 1. That's the most common. You can use a military ID as well, especially if you're stationed in California. And then the other more common ones are either vehicle registration or a utility bill, showing that you are paying bills on a particular property. In fact, I remember when I went in with a property tax, like my property tax bill, and essentially the deed of my property saying, yeah, I own this property. And they said, actually, that doesn't show proof of residency because you could be an investor who owns a property here. We actually have to see like a utility bill or something that you're getting charged to your home and sent to your home. So that was pretty interesting. I wouldn't have thought. I'm like, oh, it's a tax bill. I'm paying it. You know?
I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating, but it's like, okay.
I can see the annoyance.
Yeah, so there's that. And
the 2... the proof of residence, 2 proofs is only for handguns. You don't have to show 2 proofs to buy a long gun.
Right. So then after that is completed, then you have payment, which obviously everyone knows that.
Got to pay for your gun.
Yeah, you got to pay for your gun. You got to pay for everything that's going on. So obviously you just go up to the point of sale at whatever store you're in. You pay for that. What I will say, though, 2 notes on that is DROS form and firearm safety certificate have to be paid on the same day that they're completed. So if you complete either one, you take the test for firearm safety, or you complete a DROS form, has to be paid same day. You can't pay that at a later time. Now, typically, most gun stores just ask for a deposit on the gun or guns that you're purchasing because they feel that if you're going to come back and pick it up, they can just collect payment at a later date. I typically just pay mine off immediately. That's just how I do it.
Yeah, so, I've never put a deposit down on any.
Yeah, but I know that's very common. That's typically the first question they ask you when you go to pay is, how much of a deposit are you putting down? Are you going to pay in full? So that's just 2 notes on payment. Now, once it's all paid for, everything's completed, that's when your 10-day waiting period begins.
Yes.
And so typically with that 10-day waiting period, it's it's mandated by the state of California. Other states differ in that. There are some states where you literally can, what they call cash and carry. You pay and literally can walk out with that gun the same day. Some places have like a 3-day waiting period, a 1-day waiting period. They're all over, all over the board. Fun fact, the reason why that was put in place was it's considered a cool down period. So you can't just go out and buy a gun and shoot somebody while you're upset. However, I think that once you own guns, it kind of defeats the purpose of the cool down if you already are a gun owner.
Yeah, I've really never understood that.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me personally. I don't think people typically commit crimes with guns that they've bought.
That they go and buy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you know what? I gotta kill somebody today, so I'm gonna go buy a gun.
Yeah, I don't think they would go to a place
absolutely.
where they can buy one. It's usually done off the black market.
Yeah, certainly, I would agree with that. But
yeah.
I get it. I understand it. It's law. And obviously we respect it. And so,
and there's no way around that. I mean,
absolutely.
Even I know people that work for gun stores and stuff, and there's no way around that. Even if they buy a gun, they have to do the 10-day.
Yeah, it's just a mandatory 10-day waiting period in the state. So,
and it is literally 10 days to the second.
Yeah. In fact, one of the guns I purchased last year, I remember going in, and it was like I think 2:33 in the afternoon. It was I know it was 2:30 something, 2:31, 2:32, 2:33, something like that. And the guy even made a note like, hey, you got to come in 10 days from now, exactly 10 24-hour periods from now. So he goes, if you come in that day, you can't pick it up until 2:34, essentially. I can't release it to you until exactly that amount of time has elapsed. So it was pretty funny. A lot of places will just make it 11 days because they're like, we don't want to deal with the fact that it might have been run at 9 in the morning or it might have been run at 8 at night and we have no idea, or they don't want to just, so they usually will, like Bass Pro Shops pushes it out to 11 days.
Okay.
And their pickup is on the 11th day. Any time after the 10th full day.
Yeah, because then you can pick up any time.
Yeah, you just know.
Yeah.
And so the flip side of that, though, is you have 30 days to pick it up. So once your 10 days are up, then you have 30 days to pick it up. If you do not pick it up within that 30-day period, you have to start the entire process all over again.
So don't forget.
Yeah, so do not forget. Make sure you go get it. So,
But, every time I've purchased a firearm, I'm pretty excited. So I usually pick it up on the day that it's up, just so I can get it. Just so I can get it home.
Just a little secret on that one that I purchased last year. That was 234. I think I was in there at about 245 on day 10 to pick it up. I mean, it was less than 15 minutes. I think I was in there and was like, "Hey, I'm here."
Well, I've been where I had to wait a little bit.
Really?
A little early.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So you browse around the store and you know.
I haven't had that yet, but that's pretty cool. Yeah. So and then last but not least is pickup, which we kind of said. You got after that 10 days, you can pick it up, and typically all you need for pickup for most places are ID. But again, always just ask the staff at the store what they need from you. Some places are a little more old school; it probably require a receipt or something. But just always ask. Typically, all you need, though, is your ID. The other thing that you will need, though, when you come in for pickup is a lock, which has to be new.
Yes.
Because I have tons of locks, and I've brought in locks that I own and say, yeah, I'm going to use this. And they go, nope, we need to see a receipt within the last 30 days that you purchased this for the purpose of this.
Yes, but
firearm.
I believe that's for handguns.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah. For long guns, you have to give that you have a safe,
Yeah.
The model of safe that you have.
Yeah.
Or else you have to buy a lock.
Yeah. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, the last time I went, I thought that just having a safe was good enough, but it's not. I had to have a lock.
Well, what's funny though is Bass Pro Shop required a lock on all purchases. They were just saying from here on out, just so we don't have to do paperwork and add like all the documentation of it. Literally, we're just making everyone buy a lock. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
The other thing that's required by the store that sells it to you is they have to give you a rundown on how to use it.
Oh, yeah.
So, just to make sure that you're, know how to take it apart and, do like a field strip.
Load and unload.
Yeah,
too.
load and unload. How the gun operates.
Yeah.
When I bought my first AR, I had never shot one and I had never run one before, so I had no idea. I had an idea of how they worked. I shouldn't say I had no idea, but... it was good just to get it in your hand and have somebody that's dealt with many of them show you exactly how to handle it. And it's pretty helpful. And that's actually, I believe, mandated by the state of California. It's part of their checklist. I know that for sure.
Well, I know you have to sign like the affidavit saying that, like, yes, it was demonstrated to me, and then the store clerk has to sign it as well.
And the other thing you'll notice if you buy a firearm is how many times they check the serial number against the serial number.
It's awesome.
On the dros,
making sure. Well, and then on one of them, I know I was told, like, hey, you're not going to have the display model. You're going to get the one that's in the back. And so I remembered what the display model serial was, because I was like, I really want to make sure I get a brand new one out of the back. So once I got it, I was like, okay, cool. This one's definitely never been opened. And in fact, it had like that plastic seal on it. So I was like, all right, cool, we're good. This thing's brand new. So
all right. So now that you got your first firearm, what do you think? What do you think is a good first firearm? And I know this question is going to depend on the person and what they're using it for.
Yeah.
But just what do you think is a good starter gun?
So technically, I had a more first firearm than the one that I actually purchased. I was given at a very young age. I was given a 22 Marlin Model 60 22. It's a semi-automatic, a 22 caliber rimfire rifle, which is pretty cool, pretty common. They were super common, I guess, back in the day. Where guys used them a lot for small game hunting, mammal hunting, rabbit, squirrel, that sort of thing. And then they're really good for just plinking and just target practice. For a kid, or someone who's just really, really, really new to guns, I would have to argue that, and I have like 3 or 4 different first guns.
Yes, and so do I. So.
I would have to argue that a 22 is probably one of the best guns to start off with. A, ammo's cheap.
Very cheap.
B, they're pretty universally easy to use. I've used multiple models of 22s without ever firing them before, or ever having any use of them before, like the Ruger 1022 I fired a few bolt actions, I fired one pump action 22. There's like cool. there's some definitely
and lever action 22.
Cool. Yeah, and those are pretty cool too. So there's a ton of different types of 22, so it's a really good way to get your foot in the door. And then again, ammo's cheap, guns are pretty universal, pretty easy to use, they don't kick all that much.
We're talking 22 long rifle.
Yeah, they're not too loud. They're just all around really easy to use. They're really, in my opinion, if you want to teach your kids how to shoot, how to handle a weapon properly, aside from a BB gun or a pellet gun, the 22 is like that next step up. It's like that. It's a really great way to intro your kids into, hey, this is how to shoot.
I think, our cousin, his first gun was, when he was very young, I would say like 10 or 11, I think is what he told me. But he got a bolt action 22, single shot bolt action 22 rifle, which is awesome.
When I was in Boy Scouts, that was what we had to qualify for the rifle shooting merit badge.
Yeah, and that's an awesome first gun, I think, for a younger kid, for all the reasons listed. They're not scary loud.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of kick. You got to learn how to run the actual bolt. Mm-hmm. It's a firearm, so you have to treat it with respect. You have to. That's a good way to teach them, the proper way to handle a firearm. And one of the things is when you're trying to teach somebody something, you don't want them to be scared.
Right.
So if you're trying to shoot, a 30-06 or something that can possibly, when a child hears that, and they might not even be listening to you when you're trying to give them guidance. You want to make it fun, and
they're just super worried about the loud noise and the backwash that's coming off that thing, and like, shoot, am I going to get knocked over when I shoot this thing? So the 22, you're right, super super easy. On a shooting mechanic more point, I would say the reason why the 22 is so great, especially a bolt action 22, you got to actually place each round. Mm-hmm. You got to take the time to close the bolt, and then you got to take the time to aim, get back on target, really breathe, and take the shot. I think it makes you a little bit better of a marksman mm-hmm. at a younger age, because you're now having to think about every time you got to reline up that shot, go through all your shooting mechanics. Where I know as a kid, when you have that 22 and you go out to the desert and you're looking at that tin can, you're like
a Ruger 1022.
Yeah, Ruger 1020, or like my Marlin. I think it holds like 17 rounds or something, 14 to 17 rounds. I'm not entirely sure anymore. I know I used to have it all memorized, but I just remember thinking, man, I cannot wait to unload this thing as fast as I pull the trigger. A round's gonna come out, boom, 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 you know. And
yep.
But obviously, I mean, you're way off target, and so it's a really, really great way. The bolt actions and pump actions and lever actions are a really great way to have to go, okay, now I got to get back on target. And
yeah, if you're shooting a bolt action, single shot 22, I mean, you want to talk about a cheap day of shooting.
Seriously.
You're not going to go through very many rounds.
No. You're going to get bored of it before you go through more than you can spend. I mean, I don't know what a box of 500 rounds is, probably under $30. I know that for sure.
Yeah, if you look hard enough, you can find them for pretty cheap.
Yeah, I want to say the last box I bought of 550 rounds was about $23 or something like that. Probably.
I couldn't even tell you. I have a lot of 22 right now, so I haven't bought it in a long time.
Yeah. So yeah, in my opinion, for kids, people that are just getting into shooting, want to learn how to handle a long gun safely, 22 is great. You could say the same thing about someone who wants to get into handgun shooting. Mm-hmm. 22s are good. In my personal opinion, though, for first handgun, I would say go with a 9mm.
Yeah, and that's what I want to go over is, it's kind of like my initial thought is going to be, well, what are you going to use it for?
Yeah.
So, if you're going to use it for target shooting and home defense, then you don't want a 22. You're going to want something a little more mm-hmm. with a little more kick to it. And I would suggest a 9mm. They're easier to control than a bigger round, not as snappy as like a 40.
Yeah.
Also 45 is pretty nice, but
yeah, but the gun's a lot heavier typically.
The gun is a lot
like
heavier.
A 1911 is way heavier than like a 9mm XD, MP, or Glock.
And the other thing is, I would suggest a full size 9mm or a compact at the most, not a subcompact. And I think it's a little too small for somebody that hasn't been shooting a lot.
Yeah.
One is with the smaller barrel, the accuracy is decreased.
Absolutely.
You know, and they're harder to grip. I mean, you kind of have to know. You kind of have to practice a lot, you know, and kind of be a shooter before you can start shooting the subcompact. It's not really as easy. But yeah, I think a full size. I think the gun. You know, I have a Springfield XD, which I think is the same size like a Glock 19.
Yeah.
And even with that one, that was my first gun. I'm not as accurate. You know, I have a Glock 22, which is a 40 caliber, but the full size. And I feel like I'm more accurate with that gun. And other guns that I've shot, you know, I've shot a Beretta, which I'm super accurate with for some reason. I mean, that Beretta's pretty souped up. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's a big thing if you haven't been shooting a lot, you know, yeah, because I know a lot of people they want something really small for some reason. I've talked to a lot of people where I want a little small gun. It's like you know, they kind of understand it's a little easy. It's a little harder to shoot, you know, a really small gun, especially if you start going with a bigger caliber bullets.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I have so you've got the full size XD or whatever. It's just, I know it's their full size. I don't know if it's considered like a full size.
Well, I believe the XD comes with two different size barrels. So mine's, I think, the 4-inch as opposed to the 5-inch.
Okay.
A barrel. So you can get one longer barrel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One size bigger.
So I have the subcompact XD 9mm, which I love. And yeah, you're right. It's definitely tricky. So they make the mag extensions on there where you have like a full-size grip.
Get your pinky on there.
Yeah, and to me it's like, okay, that's pretty cool because the grip is the same as like any full-size pistol. But you're right, that shorter barrel makes it a lot tougher to hit at a distance. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, I will say that I'm pretty accurate with that thing. In fact, I love it. I love the feel of it. But yeah, as soon as you put those short mags in there, it's like, oh man, like my grip is definitely weird. You got to kind of compensate for this awkward grip. At the same time, you know, the intention for that type of a gun is more as a last ditch conceal carry or, you know, just personal defense really rather than home defense. Yeah,
because I mean, even, you know, a lot of people that do conceal carry, that ideally they want to conceal carry a bigger gun. The reason they will shoot a smaller gun or it's for concealability. You know, it's kind of like almost you have no choice sometimes in the summertime where you're you know, wearing t-shirt and shorts. It's hard to hide you know, to conceal a bigger gun.
Oh yeah, well it was even tough concealing the subcompact 9mm in Nevada when we were over there, and I was wearing the tank top. You know, it's like I'm like, shoot, dude, I feel like I'm printing. Like, and then you're super self-conscious about it. But
yeah, this is totally off topic. So
back to the 9mm though, real quick. If you are planning on getting a handgun, and I think Teddy and I both agree, 9mm. But the big thing that I would say, 9mm full size. Sorry. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I would say is if you are going to purchase a 9mm full-sized handgun for your first gun, I would highly recommend buying something in the kind of that polymer frame system. So like the Glock, the MP by Smith & Wesson, or the XD. Mm-hmm. I had a Browning High Power for a while that I really loved, but they're all metal. They're a little older. They're clunkier. You got to take a lot better care of them. Mm-hmm. You got to constantly, not that you shouldn't not clean your gun, but you have to constantly be cleaning these things and oiling them and lubing them because they get really finicky. I know Berettas are amazing guns. The problem is too, same thing. You got to constantly be maintaining them. They're like a 1911 where you just have to bathe.
Yeah, and that's why I don't recommend a 1911 for a first gun.
No.
They're big. They're heavy.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the polymer, you know, Glocks. You're gonna get into if you start researching and start looking for a pistol, you're gonna get into you're gonna get yourself into a forum probably that's where you're gonna have the big debate of Glock versus Springfield versus Smith & Wesson.
Not really Smith & Wesson.
Yeah, I guess Smith & Wesson. I think the Smith & Wesson shields are awesome, or not. The M&Ps are awesome.
They're really great guns, but there just seems to be a two dividing factions of Springfield versus Glock, and it's kind of funny.
And to me, they're both good.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have the Springfield XD and I have a Glock. I don't have a Glock at 9mm, but they're both awesome guns. I mean,
Yeah, I've dealt with both, fired both, and
Yeah.
they're great. But yeah, that's what I would say. Polymer, they're lightweight, easy to handle, easy to maintain.
And, you can go online and look at torture tests for both of them and see people put them, drop sand in them and mud and all that stuff, and these things will still fire both
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, if somebody breaks something down too much, it's going to malfunction. But
Absolutely.
those guns are about as
Yeah,
reliable
and for the
as you can
normal
get.
user, the first time user, you're not even going to be putting them through even close to that. So they're super reliable guns. At that point, you just have to decide what one you like shooting better. So now let's move on to the next gun. Now, if let's say I'm going to ask you this one, aspiring hunter, what's the best first gun?
Oh, I think it depends on what you want to hunt, obviously.
Right.
But if it's birds, it's definitely for me. I would say any of your pump action 12 gauges. So that's your Remington 870, Mossberg 500. Those are just tried and true.
Yeah, both of those are really great guns. There's a lot of other companies that make
And
some really good.
they're well priced.
Yeah, that makes some really good pump action shotguns. If you're looking for a semi-auto that's pretty reasonably priced, I would say go with the Escort. They make a really great, very reasonable semi-auto that functions really well. If you're looking for, the only downside is there's not too many cheap over and unders. I mean, I know they make them, but they're typically on a little bit higher side of pricing, over and under shotguns.
Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend an over and under just because.
Well, unless your plan is to only shoot trap and skeet and upright game.
Yeah, and I think they're more of a. You have to be a better shot, I think,
You
to
do,
shoot an over and under.
yeah.
Especially because both guns are not going to have the same choke, or both barrels, I'm sorry, are not going to have the same choke.
Yeah.
You really have to know what you're doing to shoot an over under.
Well, and the reason why I went, and this goes right back to the reason why I chose that Mossberg 500 as my first personal purchase, was because it had both the hunting barrel, the 28-inch barrel that I could take out and do basically any kind of hunting, bird hunting imaginable with it. But then it also had the 18.5-inch home defense barrel.
Yes.
Which immediately turns this thing into like a hallway clearing shotgun, which is really great.
And that's what's awesome about Remington and Mossberg. They kind of both do that, where I think they kind of know that they're, maybe like the intro gun, especially like the 870 and the 500. So you will find a lot of packages with the longer barrel and the shorter barrel.
Yeah.
Where you can interchange them, and that's really handy to have one gun that can kind of do both.
Yeah.
Both things, and that's kind of like when you buy your first firearm. That's kind of like what you're looking for, something that can do more than one thing. So, again, I would recommend for someone that's gonna want to do a little home defense, have a setup for home defense, and maybe just go target shooting. That's where I would recommend the 9mm.
Right.
If you're gonna be a hunter, then I would probably recommend a shotgun, because you're gonna use a shotgun for hunting, and you can use a shotgun for home defense.
And you can use it for the trap and skeet range too.
Yeah.
So you get some of that target practice, which again, very different from the 9mm target practice, but either way, both of them help to make you a better shot. So
yeah, it really just depends on what your goals are.
And then last but not least, I would say for me, another great first gun that you could get if you're planning on going kind of the bigger game route in hunting, or if you just want a bigger size rifle. Maybe you're a guy who's shot 22, shot 9mm, you're not interested in handguns, not interested in bird hunting, but you have no problems going out and maybe doing some boar or deer hunting, or you just want a really fun long range target rifle. Any just kind of basic bolt action rifle, I would say, depending on, obviously now you got to talk about what game you're planning on hunting. But a 30-06 I think is as standard kind of as they come in the bolt action rifles, or 270. You could go with a little bit smaller of a round. But.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those things that depends. To me, I think people that are gonna hunt big game are typically gonna be more used to firearms.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to hunting big game and knowing your ballistics and your bullet drop, and it's a little more involved. I think people that just start off, and this is just from my experience of meeting people and knowing people, it's usually, people start off hunting birds.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think it's just easier maybe.
Yeah.
It's easier to get your license and go out there and hunt a bird instead of, drawing a tag and doing all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to me the shotgun, 9mm pistol are the way to go. 22 definitely for kids and younger people. Even women that might be afraid, to go out and you're trying to like introduce new people to shooting.
Yeah.
22 is awesome for that too.
Yeah, and in that case, it's great in either a handgun or a rifle platform. Just because, like you said, the reduced kick and things like that. And so, yeah, I would say that those three are really, really great starting guns. If I could say in my opinion, if you plan to be a firearm owner, every man should have a 12-gauge shotgun, a 9mm pistol, and a 22 in his arsenal.
Yeah, and I kind of think that's what people. If you're gonna keep on buying guns, you'll definitely get those.
Collect, yeah. That's. I feel like that's. You ask anyone who owns any amount of guns, and they have at least one of those, if not all three. In fact, I feel like it's almost more common to find someone who has all three, who's into firearms or hunting or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's funny though, and we're talking about our generation. When you talk about the old generation, it's a revolver and a shotgun.
Yeah, like a 38 special or something. The 38 revolver, 22 revolver, something like that. A 22, and just any kind of old shotgun. Didn't really matter what it was, as long as it shot a 12-gauge shell or a 20. Or they had some weird gauges back then too. So. But yeah, I think those three are the best. And then, like I said, if you are getting into the long gun, like rifle shooting, then I would say like a 30-06 or 270 are pretty common. So
yeah, if you're going to talk about, you'll be able to find ammo for those.
Yeah,
that's another thing about the 9mm. The 9mm, you're going to find ammo for 9mm pretty much everywhere.
Same with 12-gauge.
Yeah, same with 12-gauge, and 22 long rifle.
Yeah, pretty much. Find that everywhere too.
9mm is fairly cheap too. I mean, it's gone up in price, but
I would
it's
say
not
that's,
too bad.
Other than obviously the 22, 9mm is the cheapest center fire handgun round I think out there.
Yeah, and if you want for somebody that's not as big, if you want to just go with a 20-gauge shotgun,
that works.
And
too.
It's the same thing. You can get the same models and everything in 20-gauge. The cool thing about shooting shotguns is. Everybody says the ammo is not expensive for shotguns, but it kind of is if you think about it per shell.
Yeah.
It's just the amount that you can shoot before your shoulder feels like it's going to fall off.
That is super true. I always think shotgun shells are super cheap, but I think part of the difference is if we go out and have a range day, I typically only shoot 50 to 75 shells. Whereas with a 9mm, I could easily put 200-300 rounds down range without even thinking about it. So,
other things that I think you need if you're going to be shooting is ear protection.
Oh yeah, obviously.
To go out to the range, you got to have ear protection. Whether it's just your standard inner ear little foam ones, or if you want to get the over the ears digital. I mean, you can get crazy if you want, and glasses.
Yeah. I typically just shoot with my sunglasses on.
It depends on where you shoot. Some indoor ranges will make you wear gun glasses.
Right, which is obviously I have pairs for that, and those are clear. It's indoors. You're not having the sunlight. I've got a pair of yellow safety glasses too that are pretty cool because you can pick up movement at a distance with them. And I don't know, they're super neat to use.
Yeah, I've actually just used my racquetball glasses.
Oh dang, okay, yeah, there you go.
So let's get back to the cigar. What do you think?
Same as it always is, man. It's just a good cigar. I don't know how to explain it any other way. Super smooth, super mellow. I'm taking this thing down really fast for as long of a cigar as it is. I'm definitely enjoying it. It's gotten a lot easier to smoke throughout, but now that I'm getting towards the last third, it's definitely picking up with more spice and more. It's got a little more of a bite, more heat to it, but that's with any cigar. So. Yeah,
I think it's. I would say that this is an easy smoke. Would be what I would say to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not strong. It's pretty mild.
Yeah.
It says it was like medium to mild, more on the medium side, but I don't really feel that it's too medium, too medium bodied.
Yeah, I mean yeah, and I'm smoking this thing pretty quick. It's definitely more of the mild. The only time I can tell you that these things are medium is when I'm actually like doing something. So like working on the yard or in the garage, and I'm puffing on one of these, and you're absent-mindedly like not thinking about it, maybe breathing it in a little bit more, and then at that point I'm like, whoa, I gotta set this thing down.
Yeah, I think based on the description that we got online, I think it says notes of cream, cedar, slight spice. The cedar and the slight spice are what I'm picking out the most.
Yeah.
It's a good smoke. I like it.
Yeah.
I've had these before. They're enjoyable.
Yeah, they're good. They're easy to smoke.
Goes well with the drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you enjoying that? You done with yours?
No, actually, for whatever reason, I just really haven't been sipping it as quickly tonight. But it's good. I love Woodford Reserve, but...
Oh, yeah. It's a good bourbon.
Yeah.
Nothing special, it's not...
I think that's kind of... It's like those Balmoral cigars. Like, it's good, but it's just like a bourbon to me.
Yeah, and for some reason, like this one I've had before, and I wanted to do it today. It's not one that I think about.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of change it up.
Yeah, and so a lot of times, when I think, okay, well, let me have a glass of whiskey today, it's usually, I think, okay, let's do Maker's 46 or, some go-tos. And this one's never on the list, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the one that I always ask for on the plane because, in my opinion, it's far better than just like a standard glass of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something like that. But
yeah,
I think if I were to order from a list of bourbons, I don't know that I would go, oh, Woodford Reserve, definitely.
Yeah, this is something that I have ones that I prefer.
Yeah.
And this is not at the top of the list, but drinking it on the rocks.
Super good. Yeah,
it goes down very smooth.
Yeah.
It's got a ton of flavor.
Yeah.
Liking it.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have anything in closing?
No. Other than if you're thinking about buying a firearm, back to just our main topic tonight. If you're thinking about buying a firearm, just make sure that you go kind of prepared. There's nothing worse than showing up and them going, hey, you need proof of residence, or you need this or that, and you have no idea what's going on. I think that obviously hinders a lot of buddies that I have will go, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Once you know the system and know what you need, it's actually super easy. I was in and out of the shop the other night within less than 15 minutes, just because I already had everything ready to go. In fact, I have a little folder that I just keep all the stuff that I need in there. I take it in, find the one I want, fill out all the paperwork, and you're good to go. So I'd say if that's your hesitation, don't let any of that scare you. It's actually a really easy process once you know what you need.
Yeah, my thing is it's pretty easy. I think the harder question is to ask yourself, like, what do you want and why?
Right. And that you'll rack your brain on that for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to go out and they want a gun for whatever reason.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they just want one just to have one.
Yeah.
Because they think it's cool, or they've never shot before, or whatever. But I would just kind of think, okay, well, what are you going to use it for?
Right.
And then that'll also help you decide what you want.
Oh, absolutely.
What to get. So
absolutely.
So like we said, the three guns that came up the most: 22 long rifle, pretty much of any kind.
Yeah.
9mm pistol.
Yep.
And shotgun.
Yeah.
And 12 gauge. I say 12 gauge because, depending on the gun, there's not really that much kick. A lot of people, I think, overstate the amount of kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just the shells are everywhere. You can go to Walmart and buy.
Yeah.
Shotgun shells and stuff. So yeah.
I would say too, again, back to what Teddy had said, if you want a gun just to have either a gun in the house or to start practicing or whatever, if we had to pick one gun, which this I'm going to throw a curveball at you because I'm saying you just have to pick one. For me, I would say absolutely hands down, and I'm just saying for the everyday person, hands down, I would go with the 9mm handgun. The reason for that is because if you have no intentions of hunting, The shotgun, although great for home protection, you're really not going to use for much else. I mean, even trap and skeet shooting, if you're not interested in hunting, oftentimes it's a lot more challenging, in my opinion, than just taking a handgun out and shooting it. With a handgun, you can do home protection with it. If you decided to get a concealed carry permit, you could potentially carry that gun with you. And then they're just fun to shoot. And like you said, they don't kick a whole lot. It's kind of, to me, the intro gun. It's like the 22 of handguns, in my opinion. It's really easy to pick them up and shoot them, and they're a lot of fun to use. Yeah, I would say one gun, that's it, 9mm handgun. So.
If I had to choose one, it'd be the same, and that's what I did choose when when I bought my first gun. So yeah, it's an all around gun, all around caliber. Yeah, the ammo's not too expensive. You can use it for multiple things. Yeah. It's definitely a good starting gun.
Yeah. So, awesome. Well, I think that's it for me. I don't know if you had anything else.
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
Again, I'd like just to thank everybody for listening, the support, their feedback. Yeah. We're gonna try to get these out on a more regular schedule. Yeah. We're working on it. Yeah. Just thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you've stayed on again this long and have bared through these episodes with us, we really appreciate it. We value your feedback, so please do let us know kind of what you're thinking and what your thoughts are on everything. And then also too, if you have any topics that you want us to cover, reach out, let us know. We'd love to add some topics to our list. We have a big list of stuff we want to cover. But yeah, if there's any burning questions you guys have, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
All right.
All right.
Smoke the Podcast signing off.
Have a good night.